Go ahead and get started. Let me turn on my mic and my camera for for StreamYard. So welcome. For those of you that are familiar with this space, you know that I am Linda, your favorite real estate agent here in the Central Valley. And I am coming on, I've done these before where we've done workshops, and I'm getting back to that. So today, it's kind of my comeback. I wouldn't call it a comeback because I've been here for a while, but it's kind of my comeback in doing it where I'm live streaming. We were, there may be people coming in, I don't know. But if not, we will talk to you and we will answer your questions. So, those of you that are interested in owning a home, this course or workshop or seminar, whatever you want to call it, is for you. We're going to be talking about how you can own your own home and do it with all of the knowledge you need to make informed decisions. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm sorry for those on Instagram and TikTok. We were going to have the cameras or the TV show the slides, and for some reason it does not like StreamYard. So I cannot get it to be on StreamYard and show my slides at the same time. And I'm just waiting for Jacob.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. For whatever reason, it's not picking up my money or my start.
Did you go into?
I can enter without it, but
Right, then they won't be able to hear you.
yeah.
Okay, so then what we'll do is we will just have you, we'll just switch seats.
Yeah, I can just get in there. I can get really close to you and pick up.
Yeah, so let's see. And then you said you sent me your slides, right?
Yeah, you should have access to it.
And
It'll be under Stewart Mortgage 101.
share with me. It's probably what if I did.
There it is.
There, it's okay. So let's see. If I one more second, y'all, we gonna figure it out. Okay, let me go back to StreamYard and say I want to share. Share screen. Can I share both of them at the same time? Maybe I should just share my entire screen. Share. So we'll just have to switch. Okay. It won't let me do it both. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to go over a welcome, which I've kind of already done that. I'll talk a little bit about me. Jacob will talk a little bit about him. We're going to talk about our beliefs here at Keller Williams. That's the brokerage I work for. We're going to talk about the fears and facts of buying a home. We're going to talk about the buying process. Then Jacob is going to talk about the loan process for you. So if you have mortgage questions, he is the guy to ask. And then we will go over what it means to work with me as your real estate agent, and then answer any questions that you may have at the end. So that's kind of how we're going to set this up. And I just want you to know that investing in a home is one of the most important decisions that you will make in your lifetime. Besides who you're going to marry or who you're going to love and how many children you're going to have, buying a home is the next thing, where you're going to live, where you're going to build those memories. And so having a roof over your head is important. The things that you do in your home are important. And so when we're talking about buying a home, you're not just talking about buying a piece of property. You're not just talking about buying something. You're talking about creating a lifestyle, creating an experience that you can pass on from generation to generation. So a little bit about me. My name is Linda. I do work for Keller Williams. I grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco, baby. And so where I choose to, I guess if you say serve my clients is the Bay Area, because I know that I lived there most of my life. I am currently living in Stockton, California. So I also will help people in the Central Valley. And I am on the Rachel Adams Lee team. And so I also serve people in the Sacramento, Placer County, in that area. So El Dorado Hills, Rockland, all of that. So basically, there's a whole lot of area that this chick can talk about and help you find a home. But that's not all I can do. I'm an author. I am a Christian. I actually pastor a church in San Francisco. I am a sister, an auntie, a daughter, all of those good things. And so I have a full life and I understand family and how building memories is important. And so it's not about what I can do for you. It's about what you're trying to do for yourself and your family. And that's kind of how I approach things. So that's a little bit about me. Again, it's not about me. It's about you today. So our belief here at Keller Williams is very simple. We believe in a win-win, which means that the seller and the buyer win. So if I'm representing you as the buyer, I want to get you in there for the best deal. I also want to make sure that that seller doesn't feel like they got shammed, right? So I'm working on your behalf, but we're trying to make sure that it's a win-win situation so everyone walks away happy. We do everything in with integrity. So we do the right thing always. Customer always comes first. We are committed in all things. We have communication is high. A lot of people say when I talk to them, well, I dealt with the real estate agent, but I didn't know what was going on. They wouldn't communicate with me. When I called them, they wouldn't pick up. That is not a problem with this brokerage or with this real estate agent. So today is not just me giving you information, but it's actually showing you what I do if you choose to work with me. I go to great extents to make sure that I'm communicating everything with you. We like to think outside of the box. We like to get creative because you guys know sometimes it's not a cookie cutter situation, right? There's different things. You work for different companies. You have different size families. You have different cultures, you have different things that you want to do. And so we like to get creative in how we assist you in finding your next home. We work together. That's why you see Jacob and I, well, you can't see Jacob yet, but you'll see him in a moment. That's why we work together. We have teams that we are surrounded by. I mentioned I am a part of the Rachel Adams Lee team. And there's about 12, 13 of us. I can't remember. We keep growing and changing all the time, but we have a team, and the brokerage that I am in, this particular office, I believe has almost 300 agents in it. So there's a database. I'm also a part of Place. So that's thousands of agents that I have access to. So when you have me working for you, I come with a horde of people to help you find the home that you want to live in. So that's what I mean by teamwork. So there's the title, there's the home inspectors, the appraisers, the insurance, the lenders, the team keeps growing. We believe in trust. So we start with honesty. We're always going to be transparent. And then we have equality, opportunities for everyone. And we believe that success comes through people, right? And another thing that I want you to know is we always seek to find answers. And that doesn't mean that we're going to always say, okay, you bring a problem to us and we're going to start throwing solutions, but we're going to understand and unwrap what the situation is so we can make sure that we're giving you the best solutions for you. So just imagine working with me with all that transparency and communication. Okay. So let's talk about the fears, right? So some of the fears that I hear as a real estate agent is I can't afford to buy a home right now. And until you do the math, which is why I have Jacob here, I almost called him Joshua. Why I have Jacob here? Because he's going to help you understand the math. Okay. So once you understand the math, then you know what you can and cannot afford. And it's never no. It might be not now, but it's never a no. We can always work out a strategy for you. The other thing is that I hear a lot is I should wait until the market gets better. A lot of people thought that and they waited. And then when they finally got into the market, they were like, man, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? Or why didn't I do this 2 years ago? You never want to have that remorse. So you want to make sure if you can afford to buy now, if the math does the mathing, as they say, if the numbers work for you, then you need to jump in because there's always opportunity. Remember, opportunities for all. There's always opportunities to change it later on down the line. But if you're not in it, California used to say for the lottery, if you're not in it you got to be in it to win it. You got to be in it to win it, okay? The other fear that comes up a lot is I don't have the money for a down payment. So then my question to you is, what do you think your down payment should be? It might be that you've been told that you got to come in with 20% or you got to come in with this or that. Jacob's going to tell you the opportunities that you have to come in about a little bit lower and what that does when you do come in lower. So you may not need what you think to get into a home. The other fear is I can't afford to buy a home. I can't afford to buy my dream home. And I say it's always good to start, right? So no one, unless you come from money, no one can walk into their dream home as a first-time home buyer. But you can always work your way up to it. And technically, you're going to move at least 3 or 4 times in your life. Some of us move a lot more than that. But you're going to have your first home, and then you're going to have that home that you upgrade to, and then you're going to have the home that you downsize to because now your family is out and doing about. So there's different ways we can always get you to your dream home. So if you can't get the home with the tennis court and swimming pool and jacuzzi and 5-car garage, it's okay. Let's get you into a home that you can live in for now and be happy for now, and then we'll get you into that happily forever after home, okay? Some people say, I can't afford to buy a home because my credit isn't good. Jay's going to deal with that one too, but there's always options. Here's another one. I should wait until I'm a certain, what is this? I should wait until I'm certain about my domestic future. I don't know about you, but things that I thought I was going to do when I was a child didn't come about, but I'm not mad at it. I just, once I got to a certain thing, I was like, okay, I want to do something different, or I want to go something different. I want to live somewhere different. So don't let that stop you. Let's make moves, right? Remember what California says. You got to be in it to win it. For those of you that are watching on TikTok and Instagram, and you might be in a different state, I'm in California, so I'm going to say a lot about California. I always say, if you're in a different state, please talk to that state so you can understand what needs to be done in that state, because I'm going to be talking mainly California. Okay, the other thing, don't wait till you get married to buy a home. Don't wait till you get that perfect job to buy a home. If you're, like I said, if you can afford to do it now, let's get it done. If you can't afford to do it now, let's get a strategy going so you can get to that point. And then the last two is here. Buying a home seems way too complicated. I guarantee you, if you have the right agent that is helping you, the right loan officer that's helping you, it is not a complicated process. Why? Because we take the complication out of it. The other thing, the last one that I want to go over today is I should pay off all my student loan debt before buying a home. Well, good luck with that, because I'm still paying my school debt. Okay. All righty. So why buy now? Interest rates. Jacob's going to handle that. But interest rates are something that you do have to look at, especially when it comes to affordability. There's the long-term investment, and real estate is a long-term investment that grows. It is the only investment that I know that keeps going up and you don't really take a loss. There was a few years where we took a loss in real estate, but most likely your home is going to appreciate and not depreciate. But there are tax benefits. There's a lot of things that you can have that you don't have as a renter. And then, it's just the pride of home ownership. You take better care of something that you own, that you know can't be taken from you. I know there are renters out there and they keep an immaculate home, but there's so many things that they want to do that they can't do to their home to make it their own. And so that's kind of the owning versus renting, right? And then look at this. If you are renting a home, and let's say you're paying $1,200 a month, and you're paying that to your mortgage or to your landlord's mortgage. You're paying that to your landlord every month. He's paying off his mortgage. Over 30 years of paying $1,200 a month, saying your rent doesn't go up, because we all know if you rent, it can go up every year, right? So let's say your landlord says, you know what, you moved in, I'm never going to raise your rent. It's always going to be $1,200. Over 30 years, you would have paid $432,000 to live in that home. If that landlord say paid anything under that, you've paid off his home, and now you're just putting money in his pocket and you're getting no benefit from that. You can take that same purchase, let's say 250 now. I know someone just said, well, you can't buy a house for 250,000 in California. You can buy a condo. I'm just saying. Okay. So let's say you buy a home for 250,000 and you pay $1,200 a month in mortgage. Again, over 30 years, that's $435,000 that you've paid. And now your home is paid off and you have equity, right? So do the math. You're going to do that with Jacob, but just do the math. Just something to think about. Owning versus renting. So we're going to talk about the buying process. And then when we get to this first step or second step, depending on how you come into this game called real estate, Jacob's going to take over. And then I'm going to look to see if there's any questions so far. Okay. So you start with the initial consultation, right? That means you sit down with Linda. And we have a conversation about you. And that all that is me asking you, where do you want to live? What's your motivation in moving? All of those things. So when I'm looking for a home for you, I'm looking for the home that you desire to actually put in an offer. Okay. So we have an initial consultation. The first thing that I'm going to ask is, well, maybe the second or third thing I'm going to ask is, have sat down and spoken with the lender. If you tell me no, I'm going to say, oh, great. I have a lender that I can sit you down with. His name is Jacob, and he works with Coast Home Loans, and he's going to talk to you about that piece, right? The reason why I'm going to refer you to a lender is because you need to get pre-approved. Well, Linda, why do I need to get pre-approved? I don't even know where I want to live yet. The reason why you want to get pre-approved, what if we go out and we see the first 5 houses and you love all 5 of them? If you're not pre-approved, you're not even in a position to put in an offer at that time. And real estate moves fast. It goes quickly. So you can see a house that's on the market and see that there's a sign up, and then you call Linda and be like, hey, look, Linda, I want to see 123 Main Street. And we go and I call the listing agent, and I'm like, hey, listing agent, I have a buyer for 123 Main Street. And she'll say, oh, it's already pending. Even though the sign is up there, it may be pending. So it's important when you see a home or when you see something that you want, that you're already pre-approved and ready to go, right? The other thing is we go see it, you say you like it, and then I'm like, oh, but you haven't sat down with Jacob yet, right? That's going to take you, he's going to tell you, it's going to take a few days, maybe a week or so to get you pre-approved. And in that week that it's taking you to get pre-approved, guess what? Your home is gone. So that's why we tell you to meet someone. So when you see that home, whenever you see it, whether it's a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you are ready to go. Now, if it takes more than, Jacob will tell you, I think it's 60 days, you may have to go back and just make sure that everything is still the same, but you're already pre-approved. So it gives us that opportunity. Okay. So that's why we as real estate agents ask you to go through and get pre-approved. So now we're at step number 2. We've had our initial consultation. We've talked, we've jived. You were like, yeah, Linda, I want to work with you because you are a fun chick. And I'm going to say, all righty then, let's talk to Jacob. Now we're going to bring Jacob over, and Jacob is going to talk to you. He's going to take my seat so he can be on StreamYard and on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook and on YouTube and
All
on
over the place.
all the things. So you are now in the hands of Jacob.
All right. Do I need to switch this over on your screen so they could see, or whoever's on can see the presentation? How do I go about that?
Yeah. Just 1 second, commercial break. Here, share. You can see your face. Well, yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, everyone. My name is Jacob Stewart. I'm with Coast Home Loans. I have been an originator for 4 years and in the industry a little bit longer than 4 years. We're based out of Stockton. I was born in Stockton, but grew up in Linden, about 15 minutes away from here. So I'm very familiar with the San Joaquin County area as well as Sacramento area. Our pre-approvals are good for anywhere in California. So if you're looking for a home and we pre-approve you, you can look anywhere in the state, and our pre-approvals will be good. One of the things I wanted to talk to you today is I wanted to give you a breakdown of mortgages in general, the different loan types that you have available to you, credit score requirements, what payments look like, down payments that you'll need, and just kind of give you a breakdown of the process. On our side, it's more complicated, but what our job is and our goal is to make it very smooth and easy for you. We take the complications and we pass on easiness to you guys so you have a smooth ride going through. Essentially, I'm going to start off here. I hope you guys can see my presentation here. My presentation is called Mortgage 101. We're going to talk about bar stools, basics, why Zillow lies, and why it takes 30 days to close a loan. So
wait, you said why Zillow lies?
Why Zillow lies? Yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of a deep dive on there for you guys and tell you why exactly what you're seeing on Zillow might not be what we reflect on our end when we're looking at the actual rates for your particular file, for your particular circumstance that's going on when we're looking to pre-approve you guys. So getting qualified, also known as two-legged bar stools, it just doesn't work. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you're reaching out to people, or maybe you talk to a Zillow loan officer, or maybe just a loan officer in general, they might ask you over the phone, hey, what is your credit score? And you'll tell them, and they say, hey, what is your income? And then based off of those two pieces of information, they'll say, okay, you're pre-qualified for this amount, which in that instance might get your expectations up. You might start looking for homes at that amount. And then you go into the home, you get into contract, and it doesn't go through. And you're wondering why. I thought I was pre-approved for this amount, or I thought I was pre-qualified for this amount. The reason being is, as loan officers, we look at 4 important pieces, and we call them the 4 C's. Those 4 C's are your cash, which is your assets you have available, your credit, which is your credit scores, anything going on within your credit, whether we need to do a credit repair plan, figure out where exactly, where we can qualify you based off of your credit score. We look at your capacity, which is your income, how much you're bringing in, how stable your income is. And we're also looking at the collateral, which is the property that you're interested in buying. I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive for you guys so you guys can get an idea of what exactly we're looking at, what each of the 4 C's encompasses. That way you guys can have a better understanding of them, and then we'll dive into the loan programs. That way you guys can understand those as well. So when I'm talking about cash, cash or your assets, what exactly am I referring to? So cash, I'm referring to your down payment, which is the down payment amount that you need to come in with the home, depending on which loan program we come in with, whether it's FHA, conventional, VA, USDA, or we go a jumbo program. When I'm talking about closing costs, I'm talking about the fees that you typically see with the closing costs, which are your loan fees, your third-party fees, and prepaid expenses, which is typically your escrow accounts. And then I'm looking at your reserves. So what we do is we look at your down payment and we look at the closing costs, and we deduct that from how much you currently have in your bank account, and that tells us how much reserves you guys currently have available, which gives us an idea of your cash. Now, when we're looking at the second one, credit, what exactly are we looking at here? We're looking at your credit scores. So what do the numbers mean? 350, 500, 580, 620, 640, 780. Those numbers are essentially telling the investor where exactly or how worthy you are borrowing and what the risk entails to them when they're giving you money. So why are these numbers relevant? These numbers are relevant because particular credit scores or particular loan programs tell us exactly where we can qualify you, what loan programs are available to you. And it also tells us how much you're going to be paying for a particular interest rate. Your credit score will determine, or where you stand in regards to where you can get an interest rate might not be the same as your neighbor based off of your credit score. You guys might get completely different interest rate and completely different costs based on your score. Our goal as a loan officer is we want to get you the highest score as possible. We want to build your score up. We're going to look at credit repair plans if it's needed to get you more points, save you a little bit of money in the long run, and inevitably get you into a home where you're at the best possible payment you could be and the best circumstance possible. So some pretty relevant and questions that are asked when it comes to credit scores is, will pulling my credit score hurt my credit? It depends. So if we do a soft credit pull, you're not going to see any impact or any hurt to your credit. If we do a hard pull, you're going to see a little bit of an impact. You're going to see about a 5-point drop in your credit score. It is an inquiry on your credit, but within about 30 days time, you'll see that credit score go back up to where it was. Another question that we get asked often is, can you use this credit report, or can we use a credit report I pulled or from another lender? Unfortunately, no, loan officers within our companies, we can only use the credit pulls that we pull, and that's the actual credit report we send to the investor. The investor trusts the websites that we use, and we send to them. They're not going to trust another person or another lender's credit report or your own credit report that you provided to us. Another question that's often asked when it comes to credit reports or credit scores, is a lot of times people will pull their own credit reports, and whether that's Credit Karma or maybe they get something directly from their bank. And when we pull their credit report, it might be slightly lower or maybe significantly lower. Often enough, when it comes to Credit Karma or maybe something you get from your bank, you're going to see about a plus or minus 30 points on the score that we actually see when we pull your credit compared to what you're seeing. And the reason being is when we pull credit, we look at 3 credit unions, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And wherever your middle score is between the two, not the highest, not the lowest, but the middle score, that's actually what we're going to use for qualifying purposes. So ideally, we want to get all scores as high as possible. That way, when we look at your middle score, we can give you the best savings when we're looking at the interest rates. Now, when we're looking at credit on the same subject, when we're talking about soft pulls and credit pulls, there's not too much of a difference. I mentioned it earlier. Soft pulls, you're not going to see an inquiry on your credit. You're not going to get any hits. It's going to give us relatively the same information that you would see on a hard pull. The only difference, or one of the biggest differences with a soft pull, we can't actually run your system or run your file through an automated underwriting system, which is what every single borrower that's looking to buy a home has to go through in order to determine the risk of their file and determine if we can approve you. With a hard pull, we're going to have everything we need in order to run your file through the system and make sure that you can get approved. If you're shopping currently and you wanted to get into home right away, I would recommend doing a hard pull. That way, as soon as you find that house, as Linda mentioned, and as soon as you're pre-approved, you can make an offer and you can get into that house and potentially into contract before someone else is able to go in there and swoop the house and take it from underneath your feet. If you are unsure of your credit and you're not really sure where you stand at this time, I would recommend doing a soft pull. That way we could take a look at your credit. If there's any credit repair needed or anything that needs to be fixed within your credit, we can work on getting that completed, and we'll give you an estimated timeline of when it'll be completed. That way, by the time it's completed and we're ready to rock and roll, we can qualify you for more loan programs and get you into a home. Right. So a couple other things that often pop up on credit, and this is kind of more along the lines of credit repair, is sometimes when we're looking at people's credit, we'll see things such as collections, judgments, delinquent taxes on their homes. We might see a bankruptcy, a foreclosure, or maybe even a short sale. And those are all have negative impacts on your credit, much larger than what you would typically see if you were just using your credit card with high credit utilization. If we see those things, a lot of the times we can fix them. So when it comes to collections, we can actually fix that problem, repair your credit with reaching out to whoever your creditor was that sent the collection to you, get that repaired and build your credit repair up. When it comes to judgments, now those are much more difficult to repair. Usually time is something that can fix that. We can't really do much to get that off your credit report. Usually we want to get the collection taken care of before it comes to judgment. And when it comes to bankruptcies, foreclosures, and short sales, we typically have a waiting period that we have to go by depending on the loan program before we can qualify you for a loan. Typically, we're looking at anywhere from 2 to about 7 years in order to qualify you, depending on the loan program, which each one varies. And if you guys have questions, I can absolutely answer those. Just drop them in the comments in regards to bankruptcies, foreclosures, short sales. All right. When we're talking about the third C, capacity, essentially what we're looking at is if you're a salary, hourly, commissioned, or self-employed borrower. When it comes to salary, those are pretty straightforward. It's something very easy we can calculate. We're looking at your salary. We're timesing that by 12, and then we're getting your income, or we're getting your income, or we're utilizing that for qualification purposes. When it comes to hourly employees, typically what they're looking at is they want to see and make sure that you have stability within your income. So they want to see you working 40 hours. They want to see that your year-to-date totals line up to that 40-hour average you're working. And if all is good there and you reach that 40-hour average throughout the year, we can give you the full income, no problems. If you're taking any vacations or you're sick, please make sure to use your vacation hours, sick hours, so we don't run into any issues with the 40-hour average. Something that often happens with us in the industry is if we don't see a 40-hour average, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they actually make us use a 2-year average of your income, where essentially we have to look at your 2024 year-to-dates for your hourly income. We have to look at your 2023 and 2022, and then we have to do an average of it, which typically lowers your total income we can use for qualifying purposes if we were just to use a 40-hour average at your hourly rate. Commission employees, or if you're receiving bonus, typically we're looking at your tax returns to see what we could do in regards to your income. It's going to be a 2-year average for both commission and bonus of how we can use your income, as well as if you're a self-employed borrower and you're using your own business. There, we're going to look at your tax returns. They have to be filed for 2 years. So the most recent would be 23 and 2022. We're going to take your averages based off of certain line items that we look at when we're calculating your income, and we're going to average that over 2 years. Now, if you've owned your business for 5 years, at least 5 years, we can do a 1-year average, which if you had a jump from 2022 to 2023, that can increase your potential purchasing power by a significant margin, which is very helpful. The last thing we're looking at here in regards to the 4 Cs, which is what we're taking a look at when we're looking to pre-approve you guys and we're doing an extensive search on our end, is we're looking at collateral. We're looking at the property that you're interested in. We're looking at how it is in regards to safety, how clean it is, how it looks in the neighborhood. That's something that the appraisers are going to take a look at, and they essentially give us the final value that we have to work off of. But the purchase price of the house, the house that you're interested in, actually allows us to determine what your monthly payment is going to be later on down the road. All right, moving on to this next one. I'm going to do a little bit of a dive for you guys here on some of the loan programs or the main loan programs that we have available. Insight on the down payment requirement, some of the benefits and cons of each of these programs. What we're looking at here is your conventional loans, your FHA loans, your VA loans. I'm going to do a little bit of a dive on down payment assistance, which my favorite is Cal HFA. And then we're going to do just a small portion on alternative loans, which are typically your bank statement loans or some side stuff that we don't really go into too often, but they do exist if a circumstance does come up. So the first one is a conventional loan. The credit score requirement for a conventional loan is 680. So we need a minimum credit score of 680 in order to utilize this type of loan. Typically, although we can qualify you for a conventional loan with a 680 score, the ideal situation for a conventional loan is if you can get your score up somewhere between 720 to 740, because that's when you're seeing the best savings in regards to the interest rate and what we can grab you. If you're not quite there yet, typically I will take a look at FHA loans because they have better interest rates if you're not quite at the 720 or 740 mark. But I always compare the two for you, and I want to make sure we are seeing the better savings between the two. And I'll set you up with whatever one is best for you at that circumstance. For a conventional loan, the minimum down payment requirement for first-time home buyers, you're looking at 3%. Now, if you're a second-time home buyer, you own a home already, you're looking at a 5% down payment of whatever the purchase price is. To be considered a first-time home buyer, you just have to not owned a home or been on title for a home for at least 3 years. As long as that 3 year has passed, let's say you owned a home 4 years ago, 3 years has passed, you can be considered a first-time home buyer again and go in with the minimum down payment. Right now, in regards to loan amounts, each program that you look at in regards to conventional FHA, they have different loan amount requirements that we have to meet. So conventional loan requirement right now is about 766, 500 right now that we can get you for a conventional loan. That's not a jumbo loan. Essentially, that means is anything above the 766, 500 mark. If you were looking at a house at 900,000, we can only give you a loan up to 766, 500 before we get into the realm of a jumbo loan, which is a little bit more complex. It covers a little bit more, requires a little bit more documentation, and the interest rates are typically a little bit higher on a jumbo loan compared to conventional. So if there is a circumstance where you're at a 900,000 purchase price and our loan amount is 766, 500, you would essentially, to stay within the realm of a normal conventional loan, have to make up the difference with the down payment in order to keep a conventional loan and not go jumbo. Something good about a conventional loan that we see is in regards to appraisal requirements, they're a little bit less strict. So you can get away with a little bit more. Your house doesn't have to be in perfect condition. If there is any paint chips on the house or maybe a crack in the wall, it's not necessarily something that has to be fixed in order for us to approve the loan. Whereas with other loan programs such as FHA or VA, you might have to have those problems fixed in order to get the loan completed. And it can be more difficult. It can be a little bit more of a process, a little bit more negotiation, but that's where Linda would come into play and get it done for you and negotiate a heck of a deal for you to make it happen if we did go another route outside of conventional. Another benefit of a conventional loan in comparison to the FHA loans, and I'm going to dive into FHA here next for you, is with a conventional loan, you do have mortgage insurance if you come in with anything less than 20%. So if you come in with 20%, you don't have mortgage insurance. If you come in with anything less, you are required to have mortgage insurance depending on your down payment amount, and the mortgage insurance you pay depends on your down payment amount. If you have a 15% down payment, typically pay a little bit less in mortgage insurance every month, 10%, a little bit more, 5%, a little bit more. Right. So this next one I'm going to dive into for you guys and give a little bit of details on is your FHA loans. FHA loans are really great. They typically allow for lower credit score requirements. 580 is the minimum here for an FHA loan, and their interest rates and the interest rate costs don't jump up too much with the lower credit scores, which is a great thing where in comparison to the conventional loans, you're going to see more of an increase in the cost per rate as you see your interest rates or as you see your credit score go down. The minimum down payment for an FHA loan, you're looking at about 3.5%, which is a little bit higher than your conventional loan if you're a first-time home buyer. But the benefit of FHA loan is just those wonderful rates. You don't have to have as good credit score, and they can get you into a home with a fairly good interest rate and a fairly good payment. One of the other good things about a FHA loan is when it comes to your debt to income ratios, and this isn't something I talked about on the conventional loan, I'll dive into a little bit further now, is with your debt to income ratios, an FHA loan will allow you to go up to about, usually it's about 50%, but sometimes it'll allow you to go up to about 56%. It's just kind of a case by case basis thing. Whereas a conventional loan, if you're not coming in with at least 20% down, usually they want to see your ratios right around 43, 44%, your debt to income ratios. Whereas an FHA loan will allow you to go a little bit higher, which allows you to go a little bit higher in purchase price. One of the downsides of an FHA loan is mortgage insurance is stuck with you. You have to have mortgage insurance on an FHA loan, no matter if you come in with 10%, 20%, 50%, you're going to have mortgage insurance. If you come in with anything higher than 10%, mortgage insurance will fall off on an FHA loan eventually. It'll take about 11 years and then the mortgage insurance will fall off. Which is a good thing. It does eventually fall off. Some people say it doesn't, or they believe that it won't fall off, but it does if you come in with a large down payment. Anything lower than 10%, you're going to be paying mortgage insurance for the life loan unless you refinance out of that FHA loan and go conventional, some type of conventional program. With mortgage insurance on FHA loan, it can be a little bit more expensive than what you're seeing on your typical conventional loans. Usually you pay a fee of about 1.75% upfront, which is rolled into the back end of the loan, and you have about a 0.55% cost of the purchase price that you're paying monthly, and that's the thing that doesn't fall off. You're going to pay that no matter what, unless you come in with 10%, and then it falls off after 11 years. In San Joaquin County, the loan limits for FHA loan are a little bit lower than what you see on a conventional loan. We're at $766,500 with a conventional loan. San Joaquin County, we can only get a loan up to $656,500 currently. In Stanislaus County, it's not too far away from here. That loan limit is a little bit lower. We're looking at $517,500. The good thing about either of these loan programs is the loan amounts typically go up by a little bit each year. I want to say we're somewhere in the 800,000 for the conventional loan limits. It will be adjusting in the beginning of January sometime. And FHA loans, I don't have the data just yet for those, but those typically go up as well. All right, we're going to dive into the VA loans now, which are my favorite loans. One being because if you're in the active military or you're a widow of someone who's in the military, you can actually come in with 0% down on your loan, which is huge. It saves you on your closing costs. You don't have to do that down payment requirement. Down payment assistance. Yeah, so if you could see my presentation, if you see DPA in there, it stands for down payment assistance, which is one of the programs I'll be diving in to you guys here, or for you guys here shortly. Outside of the awesome down payment required of not having to come in with anything, one of the other benefits of a VA loan is they typically don't have a credit score requirement. Now, the VA doesn't ask that we have a credit score requirement, but depending on who we send your loan to, they're going to have an overlay, or most of them will have an overlay where they do require a credit score. Now, typically, you're going to see that credit score be about 550, which is, if you can get qualified with a 550 credit score, that's amazing. It's a steal. So, and with those, yeah, no, it's the best, one of the best loans on the market. You can't go wrong with it. The interest rates are absolutely amazing on VA loans, even with lower credit scores, no down payment requirement. The one thing they do have is they have a guarantee fee, which they do roll in the loan amount. Depending on if you're a first-time buyer with the VA or a second-time buyer, that amount varies. However, if you happen to be retired from the military or you're on your certificate of eligibility, it shows that you are disabled or you're receiving disability pay to a certain extent. We can actually waive the guarantee fee that they charge you and roll into your loan, and you won't be charged that. So essentially your payment goes down, you have less payment, and you don't have a larger loan amount that you're paying over the 30-year term. Now, when it comes to appraisals with VA, they could be more strict, as you would see with an FHA loan. Typically, they're looking at chipped paint. They're looking at the foundational structure. They want to make sure their veterans are taken care of and they're not going to run any problems. They want to make sure that the appliances that are in the house, the heating's working, everything's in great condition, which is understandable. And that, again, is where Linda would come in and she'd do a heck of a job making sure everything's in place for you. That way we can get you into a home. Now, one of the last programs, almost last programs I wanted to talk about is your Cal HFA down payment assistance program. Now, this down payment assistance program is one of my favorite programs out there. It's for first-time home buyers, so you do have to be a first-time home buyer to utilize this program. There are other programs available to non-first-time home buyers. I just haven't found anything yet that's as great as what we're seeing with Cal HFA. Now, with Cal HFA, what essentially they are doing is they're covering your down payment if you're a first-time home buyer of 3%, or if you're going FHA Cal HFA, 3.5%. So essentially, you're coming in with zero out-of-pocket expense for that down payment, and you're covering the closing costs, which are your prepaid expenses, loan fees, and that's all you essentially have to come in with. Now, the rates on this program are very competitive. You're going to see something more along the lines of the national average of what we're seeing on a given day, sometimes even better. Which is really good, where a lot of the other down payment assistance programs, they're saying, hey, we're giving you money. We're going to increase your interest rate. That way we can make money over the long term of the loan. Where Cal HFA is very beneficial, and they're saying, hey, we're going to give you the average, maybe even something better, and we're going to give you money on top of this. Now, one of the things with Cal HFA that we pay extreme attention to are there is certain requirements that have to be met in order to qualify for this program. The down payment requirement varies depending whether we go FHA or we go conventional. So FHA, we need to see a score of 640. It's not the 580 we see with a typical FHA loan. For this down payment assistance program, we require a 640 minimal credit score. And then with conventional, we're looking at 660 if we want to have a back-end ratio of 45%, which is your income versus your debts and the housing payment. And if we can get you to a 680, it increases the total debt to income ratios we can qualify for up to 50%. So ideally, if I see something below 660 and we know we're going for a down payment assistance program, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build some type of plan for you, figure out what exactly we could do to increase your credit scores. That way we can qualify you for this amazing program that's available to you. There are income limits on this program as well. Essentially what you would do if you wanted to find out the income limits, you would go to calhfa.com, or you could type in on Google Cal HFA rates today, and it'll take you directly to their rate sheet where you can see the cost for the rate. Within there, they have an income search limit where you can find out the income limits for your particular county that you're located in. I want to say in San Joaquin County, we're looking at about $182,000 between your family members, and we can qualify you for this program. All of the, and just a side note on this one, these ones are a little bit different in regards to how we qualify you. All of the requirements for Cal HFA in regards to credit score, debt to income ratios, they have to be met. We can't go over it in regards to ratios. We can't be under on the credit scores. We have to meet all of their requirements for them. All right. So just to recap on the Cal HFA again, some of the elements required are your income limits. They're a little bit more restrictive on your income and credit guidelines, and you have to be a first-time home buyer to utilize them. The last one I wanted to touch base with you guys on, I'm going to make this one pretty quick because we don't see them too often, although they do exist, excuse me, is your alternative lending. Typically, we're looking at here is bank statement loans. So what a bank statement loan is typically, or who it's typically for, is someone who may have started a business recently, or maybe they haven't filed their tax returns just yet. They don't have the full 2 years that we require for a typical self-employed borrower, whether it's FHA or conventional loan. What we could do with the bank statement loan is we actually take a look at your bank statements and how much income is coming in each month. We do an average over 12 months and sometimes 2 years, depending on what program we're looking at. And we average out your total income, and we give you an income based off of that 2 or 1 year average. Now, the one thing I will say about bank statement loans, although they do help people in circumstances where they haven't filed their tax returns, or maybe their tax returns are reporting something a little different than what we would like, is they have a little bit of a higher interest rate. If the national average is 7%, you might get a bank statement loan with 8.75%. But the good thing about that is it gets you into a home if we are able to qualify you for a bank statement loan. And later on, we can actually refinance you out of that bank statement loan once your tax returns are filed. and we can go the conventional route, get you a better interest rate, save you money long term. But as Linda was mentioning earlier, the goal of our team and the people we work with is we want to get you into a home. We want you to start building equity in the home, building wealth for yourself and also your family, rather than putting that money into someone else's pocket if you're renting. Awesome. So this portion here, I'm going to talk about the 5 parts of a monthly payment, what they consist of, and how Zillow lies. So if you could see my screen here, we're essentially looking at a screenshot of Zillow. We could see the monthly payment here. We could see the down payment. We could see the credit score, and we could see the interest rate that they're giving you based off of that credit score. And to the right of it, we could see a national average chart of where the interest rate actually lies. So in this particular situation, we're looking at a purchase price of about $550,000 with a 20% down payment, which is $119,000. And it's saying a 720 score or above will give you a 6.53 interest rate. In the same exact circumstance, based off the national average of what lenders are actually giving, that interest rate is truly a 6.90. So you're seeing a 0.40 jump based off of Zillow to where the national interest rate stands. And that can be deceiving to a lot of people, and it can make you think that when you talk to an actual lender that they might be lying to you or they're not telling you the truth, when in actuality, the national average is giving us a more realistic picture than what Zillow's showing you when you're looking at Zillow. So it's always important in this instance to connect with your agent, connect with your loan officer, determine exactly what kind of home you're looking for. Let's get you pre-approved. Let's find out where your payments are going to be out. And then I can tell you exactly where the interest rate stands and what we can qualify you for. So in regards to monthly payments, there are 5 parts to a monthly payment. Typically, as the lenders or people in the industry, we call it PITI, which is for principal, interest, taxes, insurance. The 5th part is the A, which is homeowners association. And in that instance, we call it PITIA. So the first part is principal and interest. Essentially what we're doing is we're doing a calculation based on your loan amount, your interest rate, and your term. And that tells us what your principal and interest payment, which is the first part of your monthly payment on a home. The second part is your property taxes. How much are you going to be paying in property taxes on this particular purchase price in this particular area you're looking at? Now, if you wanted to get a good idea of that, typically what you can do is you could take 1.25% and you could times it by the purchase price, and that'll give you a good indicator of where your property taxes will be. There might be some places that are a little bit lower. There might be some places that are a little bit higher. There might be a Melrose in there, but that's something we can find out once you're in contract, or maybe even before by pulling the property tax bill online. The next part here is homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is something that all homes require and we need to have in order to get into a home. What they're looking at in regards to the homeowners insurance costs, typically I like to average it at about $100 per month. Again, sometimes it could be a little bit higher, sometimes it could be a little lower, but from what I've seen recently, a lot of the time it's right around 100, maybe even a little bit lower, but I like to play it a little bit conservative when I'm doing the monthly calculations. The homeowners insurance agents, what they're looking at is and how they determine the cost of their insurance. They're looking at a few things. They're looking at the age of the home. They're looking at fireplaces. They're looking at the quality of the house itself, what kind of roof type you have. And then it also depends on how you want to set up your payments, whether you want to have a large deductible or low deductible on the homeowners insurance. Right. The next part here is mortgage insurance, and we touched base a little bit on this earlier on which programs require them, how they can be affected on the payments. The mortgage insurance kind of varies depending on the loan type and the down payment. As I mentioned earlier, on a conventional loan, if you're coming in with 20%, you don't have mortgage insurance. There is no requirement for it. If you come in with 15%, you're going to be paying less than if you come in with 10% or 5% on the mortgage insurance. And it is always included in the monthly payment. HOA dues, we don't see this too often, but where you'll typically see them is in townhomes. You'll see them in condos, and that's something that doesn't necessarily help with your payment, but it's something that's required by the condos or the townhomes to maintain the outside of the property, and that's just the lawns, the grass, the garden. Sometimes if you have a pool or a basketball court there, the HOA helps maintain those, and that's what you're paying into. But for qualification purposes, although it doesn't quite necessarily pay down your principal or interest, we have to include it in the monthly payment to make sure you can afford the home. Awesome. So what I'm showing here is I'm essentially just showing, if you guys could see my screen, a payment comparison of what you would typically see, what the cost would look like if you're looking at a conventional FHA loan or a VA loan and kind of the differences between each one. As you can kind of see on this one, on conventional loan, with 5% down, your mortgage insurance payment is coming out to about $150, whereas a 3.5% down on FHA loan, it's a little bit higher, paying $220 on the loan, and that's something that's going to continue for the life of the loan. With 3.5%, where inevitably we would probably want to refinance you out after a couple of years once you have a little bit of equity in the house. And a VA loan, no mortgage insurance because it's through the guarantee fee. Now, what I'm going to look at here for you guys is settlement costs and the three parts and what exactly they are. So the first part here, we're looking at your down payment, and this is something that we typically see which determines how much it's going to cost to get into the home, how much you're going to have to pay out of pocket to get in this house. And I like to figure out upfront, like, how much are you willing to spend on this house? How much do you have in cash assets available? And that kind of helps me structure where exactly we can be, or how much we have to work with to get you to a payment as close or better where you want to be. So the first part is a down payment. The down payment varies, as I mentioned earlier, by loan program. Conventional, if you're first-time home buyer, 3%, FHA, 3.5%, VA, 0%, or if you're a second-time home buyer with conventional, 5%. Some other parts of the settlement costs are your fees. What we see here is your lender fees. That's the cost that our company charges, as well as a processing underwriter fee that the investor charges in order to process your loan and make sure everything goes smoothly. We're looking at title and escrow fees, which is the third party that comes in and makes sure the house is recorded in your name, the title, the deed, everything is good on there. And I'll give you a breakdown of those expenses as well. And then we're looking at other third-party fees as well that are included. The next party is prepaid expenses. Typically, what we're looking at here is your escrow account and prepaid interest on the home. So for escrow accounts, typically we're collecting homeowners insurance and property taxes. We're going to collect 12 months of homeowners insurance up front. That way your first year is paid for. And then every payment you do into your escrow account, you're paying a month of your homeowners insurance and slowly chipping away at it. Property taxes can vary depending on the time you close your loan, but typically on average, we're seeing anywhere from 3 to 9 months of property taxes collected and input into your escrow account. As I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to get an idea of what that looks like, that way you can maybe throw it into your closing costs. If you just want to get a projection, you can just do 1.25% times the purchase price, and then you can times it by anywhere from 3 to 9 months, and that'll tell you how much you're going to be putting into your escrow account. Right, so this part here, you're going to see a breakdown of the settlement costs themselves. Now, the settlement costs can vary by county, depending on if in that particular county, title fees are split by the buyer and the seller. Some counties do. I know in San Joaquin County, we typically see splits on a lot of the escrow fees, where in some other counties, they might not have a split, where you might be paying a little bit more on it. So in this particular example, we're looking at a $500,000 purchase price with an FHA loan with 3.5% down. That comes out to about a $17,500 down payment, which is included in your total closing costs. Lender fees, and this is just an example because this part can vary depending on the given rate we set you up with on a given day. Let's just say it's $1,794. The cost for that particular interest rate we set you up with comes out to about $4,909. Half of the title insurance, and this is something that's typically required. If it's split in a particular county, you're looking at about $871. If it's not split, you're going to pay that. Lender's title insurance, you're looking at about $1,000. The escrow fee, which is a title fee, you're looking at $700. And miscellaneous escrow fees is the stuff they add in there for protections of you, which some can be included and some can be waived or gotten rid of. Let's just do an estimate of about $430. You have your notary fee, $200, recording fee, $120, for a total of $10,024 in total fees. And then once we add in your escrow account, which is your homeowner's insurance, 12 months, 2 months typically collected on top of that of homeowner's insurance and property taxes. We're looking at an additional $5,997 in this $500,000 purchase price scenario. With your down payment, and the fees mentioned from the title fees, as well as the total prepaids with your escrow account, you're looking at a total closing cost in a $500,000 purchase price, 3.5% down scenario of about $33,521 total to get into a home. Now, this portion here, diving into this next section, I'm just going to do a little bit of a dive on why it takes so long to close a loan. Now, typical loans take about 30 days. We do usually see 30-day contracts, sometimes less, maybe a 21-day, sometimes maybe even a little bit lower than that, and maybe even higher, a 45-day contract. Now, there's a lot of processes that go on our end, the real estate's end, that could potentially slow down or extend those timeframes, but our goal is to keep you within those timeframes as we go through the process. So just to give you a breakdown of what it looks like on our end, there's a lot of steps. And the first step would be we're going to request fees from the escrow company. They're going to send us what the fees look like for this particular purchase price and this particular home, and that's the escrow fees, title fees, notary fees, and what their charges are in general. That could take 1 day for us to get back to this. We're going to meet with you as the client. Once you're in a contract, we're going to discuss locking in your rate and the disclosure. That could typically take 1 day of time to get that decided. We're going to prep your file for submission. We're going to order the appraisal, all verifications, validations, and that's your employment, verify that you are actually working for a particular employer and that you just didn't make it up. So we reach out to them and we confirm that information. It's something that has to happen in regards to the loan. That could take about 1 day, sometimes more, depending on how soon they get back to us. We're going to do a thorough review of the file with our processor, and we're going to provide you with a needs list based off of what we need in order to get this loan closed, what we determine that's needed in order to make this loan happen for you and keep it a smooth process. That's typically going to take about 2 days. We're going to receive that documentation to you, which is typically about a day, sometimes sooner. We're going to submit your loan once we have all the documents in, which is looking at about a day's time. And after we submit it and submit it to the underwriter, it's going to take about 3 days in order for that to be finished. After the underwriter looks at all of your documents, they review your file, what they're going to do is typically, unless everything's perfectly clean and they don't see any problems, is they're typically going to request additional items that are needed that we're going to have to do some digging on, gather information from you, from your employer, from the agents, from the title agency that is needed in order to close your loan. Typically, we're looking at about 1 day there. After we receive all of the documents and we resubmit your file to the underwriter for review, what we're going to do is we're going to issue a closing disclosure after everything's done. And that could take it can get out the same day, but after it's issued to you, there's a mandatory 3-day waiting period that we have to wait through before we can complete your loan, fund it, and get the deed and title recorded in your name. Once the loan funds, we have about 1 day, and typically in most counties, you can't do a funding and a recording in the same day. So we fund, it takes about 1 day, and then we record, and that typically takes 1 day. And at that point, we are closed on your loan. You're all set. You're getting the keys from your agent. You're celebrating with the agent, with us typically, maybe even the title company at that point. But that gives you kind of a breakdown of the timeframes it takes on our end, how long it takes to get things done, the process that we're doing in regards to collecting documents, submitting documents, and making sure we can make this a smooth process for you. Now, with all those timeframes I just mentioned, that's about 15 business days out of the 30-day contract. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if it's all done on the same day. Something that could potentially go wrong when we're trying to get this done in 30 days is, hey, maybe the contract isn't signed by the seller and it hasn't been sent to us just yet. And it's 1 to 2 days. It might take some time to get that to us, which is delaying our 30-day time period that we have to abide by. Or maybe you as the borrower, you're not quite certain you want to stick with us as the lender and you're shopping around. And then it might take you 1 to 3 days, which is knocking away at the 30-day time period that we have. Maybe you can't get a document or we can't get a document from your employer and they're not responsive and we really need this document in order to close the loan. We could see it take anywhere from 2 days. It could take up to 5 days, depending on how soon or responsive they could be, which is delaying some of the timeframes it's required to close on the loan. Maybe something's wrong within your file that the underwriters don't quite like and they suspend your loan and we need to find a solution in order to get it fixed. That could take up to 1 to 3 days in order to get this loan closed and find that solution, depending on if something's wrong there. Maybe when we order an appraisal, there was a delay with the appraisal, or maybe the appraisal got sick or something happened to them. Something went wrong with your employment verification. We're looking at another 1 to 3 days there. Maybe at the closing, when we're getting ready to go to the closing table here, there's some type of delay with the signing, whether it's the bank itself or maybe it's the seller or the buyer. Some type of signing issue goes down. We're looking at another 1 to 3 days there, which is another delay. Just a brief breakdown of all the potential things that can go wrong and why it's super important to be in contact with your real estate agent and also get your loan officer the documents they need once we go into contract. That way we can ensure a smooth closing for you as we go through. So I'm concluding my presentation here. I know it was a lot of information I'm throwing at you guys. I'm going to hand it back to Linda here. Just as a brief overview, I'm with Coast Home Loans. I'm a part of the Eagle team. Essentially what we're looking to do here is within 30 minutes of you calling us, texting us, we're going to follow up with you within that 30-minute time period. We're going to always get back to you. I'm going to either give you a call. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to shoot you a text, and then I'm going to shoot you an email if I have your email available. For our realtor partners, we're going to track every single lead that we have coming in. We're going to put them into a system. We're going to follow up with them on a daily basis, if not daily. Let's say we know the borrower is busy on certain days. We're going to track and follow up with them every 1 to 2 days, maybe give them a break in between, but we're persistent. We're going to stay on top of you. We're going to make sure that we're taking care of you and handling your needs and responding within 30 minutes. We could do appointments in Zoom, in person. We could do phone appointments as well, whatever is more compatible to your lifestyle and what you're doing. Maybe you're working late shifts. We'll find a way. I'm always available. I'm a salesperson, so I could be available late night if you need me. I could be available early in the morning if you need me. And we're just going to provide you the best experience overall in general. And we have a huge team, as Linda mentioned earlier. We have a bunch of realtor partners, title partners, insurance partners in the industry that are here to help you. I have a huge team as well with over 20 plus years of experience, and I'm working with multiple nationwide top producers that help me if I ever need assistance, and they provide guidance. And I know Keller Williams has some of the best agents in the industry as well that are here to guide you and help you through the process. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to help. I'm going to pass this on to Linda. Thank you.
Okay, so we're almost there. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Jacob or myself if you need to, and we will make sure that we get you all the information that you need. Now, I do want to stop and say, if you are watching on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and you don't see the slides and or you want the information, just reach out. You can reach out to Linda at racheladamsleegroup.com. That is my email, and it'll come up in our slides in a little bit, but you can reach out to me and I can make sure that you get our handout. So give me a second to get back over to my screen and we will wrap this up. Again, if you have any questions as we're going along, type them in the chat. I will monitor the chat. I was over there monitoring while Jacob was talking. I didn't see anything, but doesn't mean you guys didn't have questions. Okay. So let me just make sure. So we're at the buying process. So we talked about the initial consultation where you sit down with me. I'm going to ask if you have a lender. If you don't have a lender, then I'm going to refer you over to Jacob. And again, what I always like to tell people is that we want to match you with someone that you feel comfortable with. And so that's why I kind of vet the people that I work with, because if I feel comfortable with them, then the people that I attract as clients will feel comfortable with them too. Okay, so we go through the loan, and one of the things that I wanted Jacob to talk about, and I might have him just kind of say it from where he is the difference, because I think it's really important that you understand the difference between pre-qualifying and pre-approval, because we want to move forward on a pre-approval. And so, Jacob, if you can give us like a real quick difference. I know you talked about it when you first started, but if you can just kind of put the pin there for us so they can understand that. So as I'm moving forward with the buying process, they'll have that in their mind.
Yeah, so essentially the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval is a pre-qualification. Typically the lender or whoever you're speaking with at the time isn't doing a thorough investigation of your particular circumstance. They're not looking at the total cash you have available. They're not doing an actual calculation of your income. Because a lot of times I've noticed throughout my experience in the industry, people will say, hey, I make this much, and they're including their bonus and overtime income, not knowing that we have to do a two-year average of that income. Where in actuality, we can only work off your base income. But essentially, they're not looking at the full details of your scenario, your file. They're going off of word of mouth. They might do a Credit Karma credit, pretty much what you told them. They say, hey, I can qualify you for this. And in actuality, they might tell you you're qualified for $600,000, but maybe you're really only qualified for $525,000 or $500,000. If we send you a pre-approval, we know for a fact, because we've looked at all the details of your loan, that we can qualify you for this house. And you're going to be in a good spot to purchase. Whereas a qualification is more of like a word to mouth. Hey, I think you're good. It's not really a thorough investigation, but hey, if we run into any issues, we'll figure it out as we go. It's not bringing a lot of confidence into the table for yourself, for your agents, and all the people involved in the transaction. And it's potentially costing you money if you go into contract and you're past the loan contingency date to where you can no longer get your earnest money deposit back.
Okay. So, and I'm glad he brought that up because we're about to get there. So you understand that when I say pre-approval, I'm not talking about pre-qualification, because when you go to these sites and they say, click here to find out if you can be approved for this particular home, that's what they're doing. They're taking your word for what it is, and not saying that you're not telling them the truth, but you might be including things that can't be included. So just know the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval. The other way to look at it is this. Have you ever got that little statement in the mail that says you're pre-approved for a credit card, but you have to fill out all the documentation and send it in? And then when you do that, they send it back to you and say, oh, sorry, you didn't qualify. That's because they kind of looked at and said, oh, we think we want to give you a card. And then when you send in the actual documentation, they're like, no, we don't want to do it. Or yeah, we do want to do it. So that's the difference. Okay. So once you get pre-approved and we have that pre-approval letter in hand, we'll start the home search. Most times, if I know that you're in the process of getting it, I may send you or start your client portal sending you homes, right? But we'll start seriously searching, I should say, once we get that pre-approval. So we shop around for a home. That's the next process. Once you find the home and you're like, Linda, I got to have it. I want to put in my offer. We will sit down and I'm going to strategize with you the best way to do that offer. Then once we put in the offer and the offer is accepted, you will have 3 business days to turn in what we call your earnest money deposit. Actually, it's called the initial deposit. That is 1 to 3% of the purchase price. So if we use the purchase price of $500,000, you'll put 1 to 3% of $500,000. We typically, I as a real estate agent will want to say 3% because it looks like you have more skin in the game and you're more serious. Because what is my ultimate goal? To get you into the house that you say you want to live in. Okay. So we're going to give that 3%. Now that 3% cannot be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, cannot be put into the loan. So that is money that you will need to have. The other thing that you will need to have once we know that you want to put in an offer and the offer gets accepted, you'll need that earnest deposit, because you're going to have to put that in 1 or 3 business days after we get the yes. The other thing you're going to have is money for your appraisal, money for the home inspection, pest inspection, roof inspection, and what else? There's one other that I'm missing. The home inspection, appraisal. It'll come to me. Believe me, it'll come to me. So you'll have to pay for those things out of pocket. Now, there are some companies that are still around that will say, we'll take it out of escrow. but most of them want their money, because if something happens and your home falls out of escrow, they don't get paid. So they will want you to have that. And when we sit down, I will go over, whatever area we are in, what those prices will look like for you. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but just have that in your mind. And that's in addition to what he's already talked about, and fees. Okay. So we got the yes. We turned in our earnest money deposit. That starts the clock for escrow. When escrow starts, you get the yes. Day one, you got 3 days to put it in. Once you put your earnest money in or your initial deposit in, that clock is moving. And that's when he was talking about the 30 days. So you just kind of getting the understanding that the buying process and the loan process is happening simultaneously. Okay. So then you go through the loan process. We've already talked about that. The loan officer is going to have the appraiser come out. I'm going to, once they say yes, I'm going to call my home inspectors and be like, hey, look, we need a pet inspection. We need a roof inspection. We need a home inspection. You might need a sewer lateral inspection, depending on where you're buying it. Whatever inspections we think you need, we're going to order those inspections. And I will always tell you what that cost is going to be for you. Now, if it's something that we don't need, I'm not going to push it, but I'm going to always recommend that you do your due diligence. We want to say here, buyer beware, okay? Because, yeah. All right. So do your due diligence. So we have 21 days to do that. We try to get it done as quickly as possible. My team, we are always working between 10 days to 17 days. That way, if something has to go over, we still have those few days up to the 21 days. And then once everything is cleared, we start to remove contingencies. When you get these inspections, we will sit down and we will talk about what's on those inspections. And what I'm looking at is health and safety, because I don't want you to move into an unsafe home. So health and safety is what I'm going to negotiate. Your real estate agent has got to be, I don't even know the word. It's just, they have to be able to negotiate on your behalf for your best interest. And sometimes the other side, because you got to look at it, the listing agent is trying to get the most money for their seller that they can, and the buyer agent is trying to get the best price that they can, which may not be the most. Okay. And so you got to understand that our wills are going to clash. We always work together. Remember, at Keller Williams, we believe in the win-win situation. So we want to make sure that everyone walks away feeling like they got the best deal. Okay. So we're going to negotiate that. But again, and my people will tell you, I'm tenacious when it comes to getting my clients what my clients need and want and all of that good stuff. So if that is the case, you got to make sure that your real estate agent understands the motivation behind you getting into that home, and they deal with everyone according to your needs. Okay. So once everything is good, we remove the contingencies. That's something that I do. I remove the contingencies. I'll remove the loan contingency. I'll remove the appraisal contingency, and I'll remove the home inspection contingency. Now, he mentioned something while he was talking about you could lose your earnest deposit. You could lose your initial deposit. And the reason why we talk about that is because you do have a certain amount of time to get these things done. And if you don't do that in that certain amount of time, we need to either ask for an extension or we need to back away and, things of that nature. So when we sit down one-on-one and these things come up, we will talk about it. I don't want to spend a lot of time in all of the scenarios, but just know that if it comes up, we can handle it. It's not a problem. Okay. So we'll remove the contingencies and most likely 21 days. And then In California, especially if you're in a different state, this may not apply to you. But if you're in California, because of the wildfires and the things that has gone on in California, getting home insurance can be a difficult process. So when that offer comes through and it is accepted, I'm on the phone trying to find you home insurance. The reason why is because that can hold up you getting funding. That can also hold up the escrow. And we are trying to get you in there 30 to 45 days at the longest. Sometimes we can go 60 days, but why? When we don't have to, right? So we're going to get the home insurance. You're going to sign the documents. Once you sign the documents, title is going to do what it does and record it. Dear loved ones, dear hearts, my friends, my family, my clients, I cannot give you the keys until it's recorded. So when we get that email that says, congratulations, you are the new owner of 123 Main Street, then you can come and be like, Linda, when we get my keys, okay? I cannot give you the keys before then. So just know you can only take possession once it has been put into your name, okay? And like Jacob said, we'll do the picture and all the things. I'll come with my closing gifts and all of that wonderful stuff. You're going to feel great, but I can't give you the keys until it's recorded, okay? So let's go a little bit faster. So finding your home, there's three things that I always tell my clients to understand. We want to define what your needs are, your needs versus your wants. Remember we talked earlier about the dream home, the tennis court and the basketball, and yeah, those are wants, but what do you need right now, okay? And I'm going to, throughout the process, help you learn about the market, because some people, you hear what's on the news, but okay, they don't always tell you everything. And remember, the news only gives you 60 seconds, and there's a whole lot to understand in those 60 seconds. So I'm going to be educating you on the market as we go. And sometimes we may need to refine our search, okay? Let me say this. When you talk to Jacob, he's going to give you the max that you qualify for. That does not mean you have to find a house for the max. You know, if he approves you for $650,000 and says that your monthly payment at $650,000 would be $5,000, you don't have to find a house $650,000. Maybe you only want to pay $3,500 a month. So then you find a home where your mortgage payment will be $35 a month. Okay, you are in control. I want you to say this with me. It's all about what I want. Okay, not Linda, the real estate agent, but you, the consumer, the buyer, the person that is going into the home. What is it that's going to make you comfortable? You don't have to use the max, but just know if we get into it, and you're like, Linda, I've been looking at all these houses at $450,000 and I don't like none of them. Then we can bump it up to $500,000. We can bump it up to $600,000 because you were qualified at $650,000, okay? So once we put in the offer, I've already talked about that. There's a few things that we need with that offer. We're going to need the proof of funds. That's why you've already talked to Jacob, because guess what? He's proven your funds, right? So we'll get those. We'll have the proof of funds. We'll have your approval letter, and all of that will go with your offer. We'll, I always kind of give my team a heads up. Hey, look, we're putting in this offer. If it gets accepted, we definitely want you to be at this home doing the home inspection on such and such date at such and such time. Can you do it? That way, when I submit the offer, guess what? I'm a little proactive. I say, hey, look, great. We got an offer for your 123 Main Street, and I already got the home inspections and because that's going to give you that advantage, okay? Because I'm coming hard for you. I'm going hard for you already. So everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Even as a buyer agent, just let you know, I have my professional fee that I charge. Yes, I do. However, everything is negotiable, okay? I talked about the earnest money already. We won't go there, but that is the slide for those of you that are looking at it. You can see the earnest money, its effects. There it is. It's the loan, the appraisal, and the home inspection. Those three things. And if you own a home, there's a fourth. It's really not a contingency, but it is a contingency. If you own a home and you need to sell that home before you can purchase, we can write that in the offer, that your offer is contingent on you selling your home. And guess who can help you sell your home? This girl. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Things that you can do to stop the process. Let's talk about it. Leaving your job is a no-no. Applying for credit is a no-no. This is once you get that pre-approval letter. Now, if you haven't got a pre-approval, have at it. But once you get that pre-approval and we're actually actively, seriously looking for a house, just say, look, I hate this job, but I'm going to be here until I get this house, right? The day I call you and say, hey, look, let's go. I got your keys. You can quit your job and it's good, right? Just don't quit it while we're in the process. So don't leave your job. Don't apply for credit. Don't buy anything using credit, meaning don't go buy a new car. Don't go out and buy furniture. Don't do anything that's going to change your credit score. He's already talked about the importance of it. So now I'm just reiterating. Okay. Don't borrow any money. And don't move money around. You just don't want to do it because those things, that guy right here, he's going to say, I can't do it because stuff has changed. All right. So we don't want to change anything. Okay. He's talked, or we talked about title and escrow. Normally I have someone here from title that'll talk about title insurance and the importance of that. But again, just know that it is important. The title rep, everyone that I introduce you to through the process, they are important and they are here for you. They're here to make sure that you get into the home of your choosing. So as your buyer agent, I will assist you in securing the best financing program for your specific needs. I will automatically email you properties. I talked about my client portal for you. I will, that are properties that match your buying criteria on a daily basis. Because if we're actively looking, like I said, time is of the essence, okay? He's already talked about it. Whenever we say we need a document, just think if we say we need something from you, we needed it yesterday, 2 days ago, okay? So we're already behind time. Let's go, right? Because we're trying to get you into that home. So I will make sure that you have everything and you know what's available in your price range, okay? According to your criteria. I will arrange private showings of any properties you want to see, including new construction, which means new builds, for sale by owner, foreclosures, all of it. Whatever type of home you see, if you see it on the internet, if you see it wherever, if I send it to you, I can get you in to see it, okay? Let me go on. I will use my expertise and experience to discuss a strategy regarding the offer price, financing terms, possession date, basically anything as far other than what Jacob is doing for you, right? So all of that, I got you. I will provide the information, and I'm sorry for those of you that I just saw my typo. I am so sorry. Anyway, I will provide any information about the home that will enable you to make an informed decision. Again, buyer beware. I'm going to make sure I'm going to ask the questions that you don't even think to ask. I'm going to ask about it and make sure that you know exactly what you're getting when you sign on that dotted line. Okay. I will present the offer on your behalf and then negotiate in your best interest to help you secure the property at the best price and the best terms. Okay. Remember, best price and best terms doesn't always mean lowest price. It's the best price to get you that offer. But again, I'm going to try to save you money. right? I just had a situation where an appraisal came in. They wanted a certain amount, and the appraisal came in $20,000. Well, we're not paying that when this is what it's worth, right? So again, just know we're going to make sure that you only pay what the home is worth. Okay. The other thing, let's go. We'll guide you through the necessary steps to purchase, including appraisal, inspections, insurance, communication, title, you name it. I'm there. I'm walking right alongside you. Okay. And I will be available to answer any questions that you have. That's my guarantee to you. What I ask for in return as my client, that you sign a buyer broker agreement, which means that you hire me and you work exclusively with me, right? You don't be, look, don't be on the dating sites, okay? You with Linda. Linda's taking care of you, okay? So sign the agreement. The agreement is normally a 90-day agreement. If we are vibing and we're good and there's no complaints, we will extend that for another 90 days if need be. But most likely, we're going to find you a home within that time frame. I want you to actively seek pre-approval, not qualification, pre-approval from a lender. It can be the lender that I suggest to you or a lender of your own choice, but we need you to actively do that. If you are a cash buyer, I need you to I'm going to still send you over to Jacob. Why? Because Jacob's going to qualify you and make sure you got some money. I'm just saying. Don't come saying you're going to buy something by cash and you only got $10 in the bank. Jacob going to check, okay? All right. So then I need you to notify me of any listed properties that you want to see, whether I send it to you or not. Any for sale by owners, I need you, when you go to open house, if you don't call Linda and say, hey, look, Linda, I'm going to this open house, I need you to tell that open house person, I'm working with Linda, that's my agent. Hand her my card, because you'll have plenty of my cards. Hand my card and say, that's my agent. I just came to see it, whatever. When you go to a new build, I do need you to call me so I can go with you the very first time you go, because I can save you money in the negotiation. But if you don't allow me to go the first time and register you as my client, then I can't help you, and they will get you to pay for stuff you don't need to pay for. Okay. So representation is important. Okay. And then when you get ready to write an offer, I just need you to use me to write that offer, because we have an agreement that says you're working with me exclusively, right? So yeah, just use me. And if I'm not available, like I said, I have a team that can help. So one member of my team, if Linda is, sick in the hospital or on her deathbed, they will be able to help you get that offer in. Okay. So that's what we do. I want you to trust in me as your agent, so I know that you will be satisfied with how I do things. That's why I have this, because this gives you an opportunity to kind of dip your little toe in the pool and not really jump in. You get to see me work, because I can show you better than I can tell you. But this is kind of how I am, right? So you get to see me without working with. So I know you'll be satisfied with my service. And if you aren't, we will make it right, or we can cancel the contract. Remember, it's about you. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel like I'm on your side, because I am on your side. And we stand behind my ability and my team's ability to get you the best price in the least amount of time. So if you come to me and say, Linda, we need to be out, our lease is up in 60 days, we need to be in a new home, you're going to be in that new home. That's all I can say. So stay in touch. If you are not working with an agent, right? Stay in touch with Linda. Reach out to me. If you're looking at the slides, you see all of my contact information. There's a QR code there that you can scan that will take you to my website. I am on TikTok. I am on YouTube. I am on Twitter. Not as much on Twitter, but I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. If you're watching me, you know I'm telling the truth because you're watching me either on TikTok or Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube right now, right? So yeah, I got all the bases. So again, I am Linda. I work with Keller Williams. I'm on the Rachel Adams Lee team. My phone number, for those of you that don't see my contact, my phone number is area code 209-373-3970. And if you call me with anything other than, hey, I want to do real estate, you're going to have issues because I know some of you trolls. I know you. Okay. So that's my phone number. My email, I gave it out. I'm going to give it again. It is linda@racheladamsleegroup.com. If you hit me up on any of my websites, on the sites that I told you, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, otherwise known as X, all my contact information is there. If you scan the QR code, that takes you directly to my website. If you register on my website, anything that you look at on my website, if you favorite or whatever, it'll let me know, and then we can have a conversation if that's something that you're interested in. So again, just want to thank you all for joining me today. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. We thought we were going to have people here. They didn't show up, but that's okay because you're here. I see you. I see the lines going up on the different sites, and I don't know if people have been trying to chat me on. No one's chatted me on StreamYard, so we're not missing out any there. But just reach out if you have questions. We would love to be able to answer those questions for you and make sure that we can get you into that next home, because that's our goal. That's why I have this, because some people, you don't know until you know, right? You don't know the process, or maybe you did know the process, but things have changed. And so you do want to, if you bought a house 3 years ago, the process is not too much different, but it is a little different because now in California, well, across the nation, we are now saying if you want to work with us, you got to sign a piece of paper. Before, you didn't have to sign that paper. Now you do. You have to have representation when you go to see a home. And it's good because representation means that you're protected. That's what it's all about. It's protecting you as the consumer, making sure that you have all the things you need to make an informed decision. Once again, thank you all for joining us. I am Linda. He is Jacob, otherwise known as Joshua. And we are here to help you. We want to see you reach your real estate goals. So my question to you, do you want to go from dreaming to owning, or do you just want to keep renting? If you're renting, maybe you're not renting, maybe you already own, you already are getting the pleasures of being a homeowner, but maybe you may want to downsize or upsize or, move into that dream home. Please give me the opportunity to win your business. Thanks again. And
Thank you.